I am 3 months back on T. I had my endo appointment a few days ago, last week Wednesday, and I'm on gel now. So, it's weird, I mean, I'm happy, I'm feeling really good. I am feeling really, like, energetic and just, ready to do things. I have future hopes and dreams, and I feel like I've generally been suffering less under intrusive thoughts or, just negative spirals and worries and stuff like that. So it's really been good. Like, I've really been, and I don't know what the reason for that is for sure. There's a myriad of things that could have led to that. Both the end of seasonal depression, for example, but also, the fact that I have this little boy now. I don't think he wants attention, okay. It could be... yeah, it could be that. It could be going back on T. Can't say for sure, and I'm a little afraid of making any, statements about... I don't want to immediately attribute it to testosterone to then later have to take that back or something, especially think seasonal depression plays into it. But yeah, I've been doing well, and I'm very grateful for that. I do feel a bit weird about not having been on T for this time, because now I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, so I'm 3 months back on T. Should I keep counting? Should I just be like, yeah, I'm 3 months back on T, and I was 2 years on T when I stopped, so I'm 2 years and 3 months on T, I guess. But then also, of course, I lost some progress because I was off T for a while. I would be, had I stayed on T, I would be going on 3.5 years, which is weird to think about. I am not the person to have huge regrets about things that I've done, especially because I feel like being honest with myself is recognizing that I wanted to go off T at that moment, and that I've, learned things through doing that, and I've met people through doing that, and I don't think that it makes sense to say, oh, if I would have stayed on T, because I just didn't, right? That's a reality that doesn't exist. But still, it's weird. It's about the numbers, right? It's about the perceived progression of continuing to count. And also, I gotta be honest, the main thing that I'm talking about when I say losing progress is fat distribution, because, I mean, it's the only thing that is different now, is that that my fat distribution is not the way that it was when I was 2 years on T. So yeah, that is the thing, because other than that, I took a picture right before I started filming, and I look pretty much in the face, the exact same way I did when I stopped T. It didn't take long for some things there to sort of shift again. I stopped shaving and I grew up my facial hair again for as much as it grows, and that is the way it was. And my voice was a bit higher when I was off T, and that has shifted back to where I was when I was on T. Other things that, mannerisms and stuff, isn't really something that is affected. That's by choice. So yeah, the only thing that is left is fat distribution, and I guess muscle, but to be fair, that is also just because I have been laying around. Not trying to diss myself here, it's in part the pandemic, and there's a lot of other mental health issues and things that play into that, where I just have to be honest with myself and be like, yeah, but just the being at home and being much more isolated than you usually are. Boom, there we go. That has an effect. So I gained weight, and I like it. The fact that my fat distribution is different bothers me less because I gained weight. Sure, I store more fat on my hips than I did before, but I also store more fat in my stomach, and I sort of, at least, it feels like I am better proportioned, and it makes more sense than it did when I was, let's say, 3 or 4 months on T the first time around, that was like unmistakably feminine in my head, and now I just don't really see it that way anymore. Not to say that I feel like perfect about my body, but I just feel so much better than I used to. And in part also I think a lot of the things in terms of like confidence and self-esteem, the way that I see myself, the way that I don't really worry about being trans and being perceived as such, despite the fact that I probably pass less now than I did when I was 2 years on T, is like to do with just like it's internal, right? It's just the way that I feel about myself, and that's just something that I've gained and continued to hold on to through that experience of going off T. Like I went off T and I saw, oh hey, look, it doesn't really matter that much. Fully, like there's things that are just parts of me now that are not affected by whether or not I take synthetic hormones. Like I am me and I will continue to be. And yeah, that's not something that, it's really something that cannot be taken away from me anymore. Like even, you know, with, like obviously I had, like my top surgery wasn't done perfectly, and I guess I could get a revision. I probably should have gotten a revision. I mean, should have. They would have offered me a revision had I gone to my post-op appointment, which I didn't do. You know, I have some more fat that is still stored here, which I'm not going to do anything about because I don't care that much. But even with that, and me gaining some weight, and you know, there actually being more like fat here again as well, it's just like I still feel so fucking amazing about the fact that I had top surgery and now my chest is flat. And also that is one of those things that's just fundamentally a part of me, and that cannot be taken away. So there we are. I have been working in a primary school for the entire duration. I am back in university now, so I'm working part-time, studying part-time, and it was a lot. The last semester was a lot, to be honest. This semester is more chill, more relaxed. I can actually work 2 days a week. I could technically work 3 days a week, but I don't want to do that to myself because it just works better at this pace. I have been doing well in those terms, like listening to my body better and understanding what's going on in my head better and cutting myself slack and learning to deal with those things that I've been struggling with. I am fairly certain that I have ADD. I'm pretty sure that that's the thing, right? And that I have some sort of a learning disability. It's very obvious, especially in like doing academic stuff again. But I've been learning to cope more. I have more ways to deal with that, ways to like get used to what my pace is and not hating myself or putting myself down over needing a certain amount of time to do stuff, and especially needing breaks, you know? Like I don't, or at least not as much, look at my breaks and subtract them from the amount of time I've worked and then go, oh, I've only worked this amount of time, because a break is integral to me being able to work, so I needed that. And as such, I've just been doing better, not because I've been doing more or working more intensely or whatever, but just because I've accepted that this is the natural state, and thus I need way less mental capacity to put myself down. And that's just been really good. It's been a very good mental space to be in. I'm back in uni because I have in fact decided to try to get recognition, the recognition I need to be able to work as a teacher in this state. And it's probably going to be a rocky road still, but I will actually try to do it. If it works out, and it works out within the estimated time, I will be 27 by the time I'm done, which is a little bit ridiculous to think about. Especially considering the fact that that would put my total amount of time studying for all this shit at 8 years. And I think that's a little bit ridiculous for a secondary school teacher. I don't think that should be required. That's a whole other debate. That is too much. That is 16 semesters. That's ridiculous. 10? Sure. But I already did those 10 back in Belgium. And now I have to do 3 extra years. So there we go. But yeah, I'm gonna try to go for it, despite a lot of the worries in terms of like whether I'm cut out for it, whether I can deal with the pressure. I think that I have to maybe just try and try to find ways to cope with that and try to find ways around that. In the end, my decision now relies on the fact that the financial benefit outweighs my personal discomfort that I have about having to be a teacher in the setting that I don't like, because I'm very much still a person who enjoys the job in and of itself immensely. Like, being in a primary school now and being with those kids, I notice very much that the thing that I very much like about being a teacher is exactly the teaching aspect of it. The things that I dislike are stuff like the interaction with colleagues, having to be in front of a class of children or young adults where there's too many of them for me to be able to do my job well. The fact that I have to do that at at a certain pace, the fact that I have a certain curriculum that excludes things that I think should be included, stuff like that. So, you know, the things that worry and burden me about the job are itself expressions of the fact that it's something that I care about deeply. I will continue to do it because I think that it would be dumb of me not to do it in the exact professional setting that I got my original degree for, because that setting pays better than another setting that I might, you know, ideologically agree with more, because all of those settings are severely underpaid. So that was my decision. So there's that. So yeah. Obviously it's also important to mention that one of the things that bothered me in the past, that I struggled with, was also just my own anxieties about being trans in this workspace, which is something that has been greatly alleviated in detransitioning for like a year and 4 months and not having even a singular colleague realize that I'm trans. In part, that is simply because of the place I live now. Like, that is not something that would have ever worked out in Belgium. It is really because I am in a place in Germany right now where the topic of being trans is so not known that it doesn't even occur to anybody. And although that comes with difficulty, because it shouldn't be such a taboo topic, it comes with the benefit of me being able to be stealth in a way that I did not have in Belgium. And I'm not saying that it's gonna be the same with a bunch of young adults or teenagers. I assume that it's gonna be different there, but I also have to be honest with myself and just take into consideration that I will continue to transition. I'll be 27 by the time that I actually see the inside of a school again. Yeah, that's another 2 years on T, isn't it? I doubt that that's still going to be something that is going to burden me, especially because, like I said, the internal change of me and not quite feeling those anxieties the same way that I used to anymore. This is not really an issue anymore, or at least isn't an issue to the same extent that it used to be. And that is another reason why I think I should just try to go for it, and even if I don't succeed, I will have the degree and it will be recognized in this country. That is my 2nd of May 2021 update.